They had what millions dream of: money, recognition, success, influence. One built one of the most powerful companies in history. One became one of the most trusted voices in media. One conquered the world of sport. Yet, all three turned inward. Why? Why would people who already had everything still search for something deeper? Why did Steve Jobs travel to India seeking spiritual understanding? Why did Oprah Winfrey dedicate years to conversations about consciousness, gratitude, and inner life? Why did Novak Djokovic openly credit meditation, breathing, and emotional balance? What do successful people discover that many ordinary people ignore? Today, we connect three real stories. And by the end, you may understand something powerful. Success can improve your outer life, but only awareness can transform your inner one. Most people live with one silent belief: if I become successful, then I will finally feel complete. We rarely question this because society keeps repeating it. Study hard, earn more, win more, get noticed, build status. Then happiness will come. But something interesting happens when we look at people who actually reached the top. Many of them do not stop at success. They begin another journey, an invisible journey, toward silence, meaning, peace, self-understanding. That should make us curious. Because if people who reached the mountain still kept searching, maybe the mountain was never the final destination. And this is where our first story begins. A young man, restless, brilliant, unconventional. Not yet famous, not yet rich, but already searching. Before the iPhone, before the Mac, Steve Jobs was a young man asking deeper questions. In 1974, Jobs traveled to India on a spiritual search. He hoped to meet Neem Karoli Baba, though the teacher had already passed away. Imagine that, a young American in the 1970s, coming to India not for business, but for meaning. He spent months traveling, learning, observing, and living simply. He returned changed in appearance and perspective. Now pause here. This matters. Because most people assume powerful lives are built only through strategy. But many powerful lives are also shaped by inner experiences no one sees. Jobs later became associated with Zen Buddhism. He practiced meditation retreats and valued Zen ideas. And many observers link that influence to Apple's philosophy of simplicity. Think of Apple products. Minimal design, clarity, no unnecessary complexity. Even if you never use Apple products, notice something. The mind that values simplicity externally often learned something internally. Jobs' biographer Walter Isaacson discussed how India taught him intuition. That word is important. Intuition. Today, many people only trust logic, but some of the greatest creators used both logic and intuition. Spiritual traditions often teach this. The noisy mind calculates, the quiet mind perceives. Jobs was not a saint, not a perfect man, not a guru. He was complex, demanding, intense. But even in complexity, we can learn from his search. Achievement without inner clarity creates chaos. Outer success with inner clarity creates impact. Sometimes the greatest upgrade is not technology, it is consciousness. Oprah Winfrey became one of the most influential media figures in the world. She built trust with millions. But what makes her story relevant here is not only fame, it is direction. At a stage when many would only maximize power, Oprah increasingly focused on inner growth, healing, consciousness, gratitude, and meaningful conversation. Her program, Super Soul Sunday, was designed to help viewers connect with deeper questions of life. Notice that she could have created endless entertainment. Instead, she invested years in conversations with thinkers, teachers, psychologists, and writers. Why would only one of the most successful women in media do that? Because external success does not cancel internal hunger. People still want peace, meaning, healing, wisdom. Gratitude became central in many of her conversations. Because gratitude is not decoration, it is medicine. When the mind constantly focuses on what is missing, suffering grows. When the mind learns to recognize what is present, balance returns. Oprah has often spoken about presence and living in the moment. This is deeply spiritual, even in everyday language. Because spirituality is not always robes and temples. Sometimes spirituality looks like listening fully, forgiving slowly, healing honestly, being present now. Many people imagine awakening as dramatic, but for ordinary life, awakening may begin when we stop living unconsciously. Success and soul do not need to be enemies. You can be ambitious and aware. You can lead and heal. You can grow externally without abandoning your inner life. Novak Djokovic is one of the greatest tennis players ever. Titles, records, longevity. But elite sport is not only physical, it is psychological warfare. Pressure before serving, thoughts against you, momentum shifts, expectation from nations, fear of failure. In such an environment, the uncontrolled mind becomes your biggest opponent. Djokovic has openly discussed meditation, breathwork, emotional health, and mindfulness. That is significant because many still misunderstand spirituality. They think it means withdrawing from life. But here is a man competing at the highest level, using inner practices not to escape life, but to perform better within it. Breathing calms the nervous system. Awareness notices negative thoughts. Presence returns focus to the moment. Acceptance reduces panic. These are spiritual principles with practical power. You may not be playing Wimbledon, but you face your own matches. Interviews, family conflict, financial pressure, health stress, loneliness, self-doubt. Different stage, same nervous system. Different arena, same mind. Spirituality is not only for those who renounce action. Sometimes spirituality helps action become cleaner, calmer, stronger. Three different people, three different worlds. technology, media, sport. Yet something connects them. Steve Jobs searched for meaning and valued simplicity. Oprah Winfrey created space for healing and consciousness. Novak Djokovic used meditation and emotional balance under pressure. Different paths, same realization. The outer world alone is not enough. Money helps, success helps, recognition helps, but none automatically produce peace. Peace is cultivated, awareness is cultivated, wisdom is cultivated. Maybe spirituality is not a luxury. Maybe it is a necessity people postpone. Maybe many seek it only after success. Because before success, they assume success will solve everything. But you do not need billions. You do not need trophies. You do not need global fame. You can begin now. 5 quiet minutes, one honest reflection, one grateful moment, one conscious breathe, one less reaction, one more awareness. That is how inner journeys begin. And perhaps the greatest success in life is not being known by the world, but finally knowing yourself.